Amazing. Okay, and are the slides moving in your screen, or is it still the first slide? It is. Okay. Okay. So during this presentation, we will take a closer look at how the electronic collection letters came into being, highlighting the challenges we faced in gathering and organizing this extensive correspondence it contains. And additionally, we will underscore the importance of metadata in navigating the letters and the correspondence, and how it helps uncover valuable insights, how it can be a very important resource for researchers in heritage studies, in cultural history, and in literary studies. And our goal is to share insights and practical examples to demonstrate the collection's potential, for which we'll provide examples from the research and pedagogical work done on our institution. The electronic collection Pisma letters stems from a now already established tradition of digital archives of letters in the digital humanities. And as researcher Maria Del Bello notes, historical letter collections and their digital adaptations play essential roles in various digital humanities initiatives. And they go beyond merely serving as some sort of a documentary evidence, and also they also highlight the letter's significance as a poetic medium and also as a form of written expression. And in these projects, of course, both the visual and the textual aspect of letters are equally important, both for textual analysis as well as on shedding light on the social contexts of the letters and their authors, of course, and their histories. And therefore, the proliferation and democratization of cultural capital through digital and online media have an important impact in how the academic community does research by enabling them to easier access to the objects of study. However, some digital collections act only as a showcase. That means that we can only read and study the objects, let's say, which are inside the collections, but not use them in any other way. We didn't want to have a collection where a user would be just able to look at a scan of letter. We wanted to have a collection where where the users will feel invited to engage with letters, to search for different topics, and to actively participate in exploring cultural heritage of the letters from the collection. And therefore, we wanted a collection that would allow us to test and to apply different methodologies using digital tools. The research on correspondences is very important for understanding the literary phenomena, as we all know, and the worldviews and ideas of the authors, as well as some aspects of modern-day literary and cultural history. And the letters offer an intimate and authentic, we say, could be authentic, could be the performing of authenticity and intimacy, but we, as researchers of letters, tend to understand them as somewhat more authentic because they weren't meant to be read by other people, so only by the addressee in most cases, not all. So therefore, we tend to understand them as an authentic insights into writers' thinking, as they contain information about people, publications, events, among other data, and about the writer's life, his or her everyday life and work environment. And the corpus, of course, of letters is very significant for the literary and scientific evaluation of the author's work. The letters offer insights into literary reference, the relationships, the reading habits, and some intertextual referencing. And a letter, thus not only a medium and a communication channel, but it also influences different ways of understanding literature and culture at the time of its creation and reception. Moreover, of course, letters from the past periods can reveal the genealogies of our cultural identifications, dilemmas, as well as the problems, and their investigation can help us face and overcome some of them in an ideal case. However, the study of letters requires a collaborative project, since reassembling the scattered letters, even from a single famous person remains an extremely laborious process, sometimes even requiring labors of a whole team of scholars. But however, considering that, and I quote, the ink on paper is an excellent medium for deciphering, transcribing, translating, and annotating letters and publishing the results, but is inadequate as a means of navigating, analyzing, and visualizing the immense quantities of complex data needed to gain an overview of the entire phenomenon. So we need, and that's why we're all here today, we need interdisciplinary research, which combines approaches from different fields, from the fields of literary history, computer science, digital design, natural language processing, and so on, as well as, of course, corpus linguistics, which is very important. And the computational methods have enriched the studies of literary history in the last few decades. But however, it also can be stated that the new digital humanities approaches depend in large part on literary studies, because we are the ones who ask the questions. Moreover, some collaborations within literary studies and the ICT research leads to realization of the following goal, as it is described in a very important document titled The Joint Programming Initiative on Cultural Heritage and Global Change, a New Challenge for Europe, that says that digitalization of cultural heritage contributes to the preservation of fragile artifacts and monuments, since their reproduction can make them accessible for future generations and preserve the originals that we usually have limited access to. In order to make digital cultural heritage more accessible, more usable, transferable, and sustainable, a research area on digitalization methods, modeling, interoperability of content, terminologies, and long-term preservation has to emerge. And in light of that, in recent years, many research projects stemmed from that idea about many research projects about correspondence have been conducted, and many of them are certainly known to you. One of them was the cost action titled Reassembling the Republic of Letters, then the Epistolarium project, the Mapping the Republic of Letters project, the Visual Correspondence project, the Early Modern Letters Online, or the EMLO project are some of them. And to cross over to our main topic, the electronic literary collection, letters, Pisma. So how this collection emerged? The first version of the database was a result of a student project funded by the Slovenia's Ministry of Education in 2020, in which an interdisciplinary group of 10 students, under the supervision of the project leader Professor Katja Mihurko, designed and created the database, as well as they entered the first 500 letters along with metadata. And the most important inspiration, of course, for this project was the electronic collection titled Letters from 1916 to 1923, which is Ireland's first participatory digital humanities project. Of course, we didn't stop there. The electronic collection has since been further developed in the research program, in the research group Historical Interpretation of the 20th Century, and within the research project titled Transformations of Intimacy in the Literary Discourse of Slovene Moderna, or Tilda, if I reference to it. Of course, which one from the project, the leader is Professor Mihurko. And the project Tilda, as one of its goals, had the main goals, had the exploration of letters written by Slovene women authors. And after we had transcribed them, we embarked on a very important task of inputting the letters. And since our goal was to enter many letters, we decided to input the text directly into the database. We had strategically, of course, anticipated that a pivotal phase in the digitalization process would revolve around a meticulous classification of all the material that we gathered. So this process entailed a thorough examination, requiring us to carefully discern the overarching topics addressed within the letters related to our research on intimacy, because the intimacy was the main topic of the project. And in addition, we curated the essential metadata associated with each and every letter, including information about the sender, the recipient, the origin, the destination of the correspondence, and other pertinent details that we noticed. During the development of this electronic collection, we expanded the range of topics because our researchers from our center identified the lacks. Of course, when we are planning the database, we are not able to see all the possibilities as we did today in the beginning of our session. We saw that some things are left unanswered, and so in the continuation of the project, we further expanded the list of topics because we identified the need for new ones as we were inputting the letters. And after each modifications, users tested the collection and offered feedback. Additionally, we found it appropriate to incorporate certain information that was absent from the original design, such as the sender's gender. And in the final third of 2022, we gave the collection a fresh design, introducing new search functionalities. The technological basis of the electronic database of letters is the MySQL database, which has been upgraded with the open source CMS platform Laravel, which allows transparent and convenient editing of the content. At the moment, the metadata of the letters cannot be exported. However, this is something it can be. Okay, this is the okay, amazing. That was a moment ago. Now the collection contains around 1,600 letters dating from 1878 to 1946. And the collection allows users free access to the intimate correspondences of a wide range of individuals from a time where, and that will be one of the main points of my colleague, where letters were an important means of communication. You will see why and how. In including letters, we followed the criteria that it's not important whether the letters were written by an ordinary person or a famous person, but rather how a letter can be used to understand personal perceptions of both intimate events and crucial historical events. And the systemic classification of the material alongside a comprehensive metadata in this collection opened up a realm of possibilities for research and exploration across various dimensions of our material. And in addition to a plethora of topics that you will see, it's also possible to search for people, even by entering expressions that appear in the letters, and so on. So that's how the search can be focused on a specific topic of interest for the researcher, including topics related to, of course, intimacy as our main topic of the project, and the investigation and exploration of intimacy opens up a possibility of exploration, of exploring the history of emotions, of providing important insights into the experiences of history of real historical people, both in case of, as I mentioned, the ordinary ones and the well-known literary writers and authors. And in the next couple of slides, but why would I show it on the slides where I can also show it on the website, how it functions, but I have to stop sharing and then share again. Yes, for you to see the functionalities of the website. So this is the fresh new look from 2022, 2023. And so here you have the search bar, here you have the filters, and this is one of the most important ones. This is the sender, because, okay, you can see that the entire collection is in Slovene, and the website is in Slovene. Therefore, the collection will be in Slovene. And that was one of the most important criteria that we had, that letters be written in the national language. So this is the sender, when we can search among the many, many senders whose letters we have inside the collection, the receiver, the recipient, the dates of the correspondence, and the topics that we identified. Some of them are very, very common and wide, such as home, the Second World War, sociability, erotics, feminism, finances, and so on, while some of them are very specific, such as the Alexandria thing for the Slovene context. Then some of them were connected to the, let's say, higher culture, which could be the culture and art, literary criticism, and other things. Some of them to the everyday life, which is the cooking, the culinary, the food, economy, house economy, um, finance could be both, and so on. But many of these topics stem from our project because you could see that most of the topics are many of the topics here are love, maternity, male friendship, um, dressing, the way how people dress, fathering, personal relationships, childhood, and so on. So things that could stem from the notion of intimacy, the things in letters where we can see how intimacy is narrated and written in the letters. The other thing we can do is click on the selected how do you call it, the senders of the letters, where we can see, for example, the main writer from Slovene Moderna, Zofka Kveder, who was one of the most important who is one of the connective elements of the most important circles and networks in the Slovene Moderna. And as you can see, this is the person view of our collection, where you can see all the correspondences led by the author, then all the letters that were sent and all the letters that were received. And then if we click on this correspondence between the two of them, the writer Ivan Cankar and the writer Zofka Kveder, and we can see all the letters sent from one to the other, and then we can click and see the letter view, which is here. This is the text of the letter, which has been transcribed. You can see the metadata here, Ivan Cankar, the sender, the receivers of Kakveder, sent from Vienna, sent to Prague on the date of 18th of March, 1900. These are some bibliographic information where you can find the physical letter, and these are the topics that we identified in the letter itself. So it's male-female friendship, theater, politics, patriotism, culture, and art. And this one, if you click, you can see the facsimile of the letter itself, and you can see not only the transcribed version but the live one without having to go to the library. Of course, we don't think libraries are a bad place for you to go to. You should always, but if you're in a rush and if you want to research things and you need it, this is the way you're able to see it. Now I will go back to the presentation where these things are. I mean, I took screenshots, but I think it's better to show you in the real one. And now I would like just to present, checking. Yes, thank you. I'd like to present how this collection can be used for research. And one of the most important potentials that this collection offers is the possibility to explore relationships and connections of different aspects of the collection, of the letters included in the collection. And what we did was we used the method of network analysis. And this is a type of course, remote reading of historical documents. It could be historical, could be whatever, but in this case, historical documents that involved a quantitative and computer-assisted analysis of networks in the field of literary studies, which allows for better identification of patterns, connections, topics, and informs the findings from this kind of research inform our qualitative analysis. And network analysis in literature and literary history assume, of course, a collaboration and interchange between different disciplines and allows us to provide a large number of sub-facts at once. This allows us to identify the patterns in texts that provide new insights into historical development. What is a network? It's a visualization of the relationships between selected metadata, and it shows how certain elements are interconnected in a given time and space. And these approaches, of course, as you all know, bring a new perspective to literary science and imply some sort of a decentralization as opposed to hierarchies and structure with the structures that have a clear center. And in this context, I need to mention a recent student project done by Mila Marinkovic, a student at the Faculty of Computer and Informational Science in Ljubljana, where she used the metadata from the collection. And she, of course, worked closely with our research team to define the research questions. And the database was then divided into three main corpora. The Kremenchuk family, it's one of the families whose entire correspondence we have and we have included in the collection. It's a family of, let's say, semi-ordinary people, not the so they were a known family, but they were not literary authors of the Slovene Moderna. So the second corpus was the Slovene Moderna, and the third one being the entire collection. And starting from the prototypes, visualizations were made to answer the research questions that we altogether posed. And visual representations such as graphs and charts were chosen carefully to show the findings because of their capacity to enhance our understanding of things beyond the raw semantic data provides. And next, some iterative improvements were made, of course, based on the research team feedback, focusing both on the content and the graphic design. But after exploring the data and identifying some patterns, we gained a better insight into the provided database that was not possible to notice just by reading the letters and the metadata. As you can see, this is how the interactive visualizations work. Those are some things that we wanted to discover. So the most common topics, the timelines, the maps, as you've shown, from where the letters were sent and where they were sent to. These ones are geographical, the places. And this is one of the most important ones, the connection between the topic of love and other topics. So which are the topics that are mostly connected with the topic of love, then the frequency of topics, and so on. Those are among many other things that we have discovered, and not only discovered, but visualized. We can see them better. We can have the quantitative data available to us. And I think it is visually also appealing. And of course, these kinds of visualization have proven to be an important tool in researching in our ongoing research in our TILDA project. And at the moment, they are not yet available on the website. These ones. They are available as screenshots, but the interactive versions are not available on the website. And so you've seen the video, how it looks like. And the second research using the collection was done by my colleague, Ivana Zaitz, who is, I believe, very excited to share her findings with you.
Thank you, Dana. Yeah, so I'm very glad to be part of intimacy as a topic, and emotions are really under-researched, not just in Slovenian literary science, but even generally. So I tried to use a tool to discover semantic connections in our letters, because one thing is to read them, close reading, but the other thing is distant reading, so computer reading. I created a corpus out of all the letters written by women writers in our collection, and I used the workflow cloud flows from the project Embedia that was created at the Department of Knowledge Technologies at the Joseph Stefan Institute. And the workflow creates word embeddings out of the corpus. I was interested in the semantic connections of words connected with intimacy. I tried to find words connected with sexuality, but these letters from this period, you can understand that sexuality was not a topic discussed openly, but the topic discussed was love, this semantic area of love, this emotional experience about intimate partners was there. So I tried to see which words are connected with words connected with love. So I found one interesting semantic pattern. Okay, love was connected with marriage, was connected with saying hello, my love, but a pattern emerged that, for example, the word heart, seen here, srce in Slovene, was connected with the word to hide the heart. And this was frequent. Moreover, the word love was connected with the word secret love. So we started to think about it, that the love and secrecy were semantically connected. And then when researching the letters, we noted one interesting thing. A lot of euphemisms, a lot of, like they didn't want to discuss love. They wanted on one hand because they were friends, but then they stopped themselves. Self-censorship was another thing that emerged. And another thing was that they used the Cyrillic scripture as a kind of different, non-Latin scripture, another secrecy, so to hide when they wrote about love or their partners or some topics connected with them, because the letters that period could be opened by anyone. It was a physically different communication than nowadays, when it's difficult for other people to read our mail or our emails, but they wanted to really to hide this emotion, even by using this secret writing. So then I started to think about these topics and started to do close reading, not computer reading, of these letters. My question here, you can see the picture when we with Katja and Darko and our colleague Primož Mlačnik, we were here in NUK, the National and University Library of Slovenia, near here, you can see it. And here there is the majority of our letters that we transcribed, read. There was a lot of labor put into it. But when you read and reread those letters, you really start to close read, to think about the topics. And I started to think about these letters as a really important collection of data and women's voices that can talk about literature in that period, but also politics and science. And I started to think about those letters as a form of self-representation of women writers, because this was a medium that they used to connect with others and to state themselves, both to their own identity, to show themselves who they are, and to show others who they are. And even in this period, the period of Slovene Moderna, this is a very important thing, because women writers emerged for the first time in this period as authors, as intellectuals, editors. Before that, they were not really present in the Slovenian literary and intellectual space. So the letters really show us how they talked about themselves, how they became writers, how they became editors. And I connected these questions that I formed with the emotional turn in literary science. That is very interesting to me. You can study how emotions are present in literary works, how they are experienced by literary readers, but my perspective is how this emotional perspective can be seen in literary history, because emotions are always embedded in history. History can be political history. This history of women writers can be shown through data, but I'm interested in how not just data about them, but how their voices, how they experienced this period, and how they experienced and expressed these new roles that they took in this time. So the women writers that I analyzed were Kristina Schuler, Marica Nadišek-Bartol, Zofka Kveder, Ljudmila Poljanec, Vida Jeraj, and Elvira Dolinar. They were poets and prose writers. They were journalists, translators, editors, intellectuals, publicists. They were the first women who tried to make a living by writing in Slovene language. And the first thing that emerged to me was that they experienced themselves as a group. They experienced themselves as a group of women writers that it's marginalized. For example, we can see this from the letter by Ljudmila Poljanec to her friend, Ljudmila Prung. And they were always writing in plural. This was something that showed this to me. And she wrote that we need at least a few women who are interested in poetry. It's still that here. Other nations boast entire women's collections. So they really wanted to be a part of a larger group of writers. And they even, they were friends, they were connected, they wrote to each other how difficult it is to be a women writer at that period. For example, how difficult it was to publish a book, being a woman. So not just like this, the women emerged in this period, but also the role of a writer, the general role of being a writer changed in this time. The writer became an aesthetically autonomous creator who, from the depths of his interior, professes his unique artistic truth. This is the words of Marian Dovic, a researcher of this period. So in our context, this meant that they were not just the voices of Slovenian national, heroes, but they wanted to express themselves, their inner truth. So the prominent, very well-known male poets and writers were what was the word we used before? Mentors to women. This is what we see in the letters. There's a lot of advice. Even we can read that I won't send these poems to the magazine before he reads it. There's a lot of examples of that. And one example is this kind of conflicting advice that I found in Vida Jeraj's work. She wrote that Ivan Zander, the famous writer, suggested her that she should write sentimental poetry, that she's the best at that. And he was very happy about her writing about love. And in contrast, on the other hand, Frango Vekar disapproved of her love poetry totally, and she urged her to write epic writing instead and not about emotions. So this mentorship was kind of sometimes like that. And Vida Jeraj had another mentor. This was Anton Ashkerts, who she admired a lot, which we can see from this words that she used in a letter about, she called him, so Anton Ashkerts, the poet, the teacher, the chef, the critic. So this mentorship was not always very positive. We can find examples of kind of a censorship from male editors. For example, Franz Balschnik, as Ljudmila Poljanec wrote, he was famous editor of the Ljubljanski Zvon magazine, and he was very influential. And she wrote, the poet Ljudmila Poljanec wrote that he was changing her poets. Like she never knew what she will find in the magazine. She just opened it and saw what he did. He didn't even take notice to her. It wasn't important for him to let her know what he will censor or change in her poetry. And we can, because I saw that other, for example, these editors, Marica Višek Bartol, the editor of the first Slovenian female magazine, women's magazine, wrote to the writers, hey, I will change that. I will. Do you agree? Can you change? No, this was different. And Ljudmila Poljanec also wrote in a letter about what Zvažnik told her, or wrote her in another letter that was lost in history. So he wrote to her that she is good at writing this kind of lyrical poems for longing souls like her, but that she has no place in the cartel and no recognition either. So these were his very harsh words that she cites in this letter. And we find lots of examples of that, and I found this, for example, women writers sometimes experiencing that they just write that writing is not for them, that they can stand this criticism, that they will stop, they won't publish, or they will just write for themselves, for their own satisfaction, and not to publish. On the other hand, we have this other reaction that it's, I will write, I will publish, I will do this. So another voice, critical voice, are the literary critics that wrote about women writers, and we can find a lot of comments about that in the letters. And for example, we find comments talking about the critics kind of evaluating women writers from the point of view of male writers. They just, for example, here, Ljudmila Poljanec also wrote to her friend Ljudmila Prunk that a literary critic reproached her for copying everything from the famous modernist poets Oton Zupančič and Dragutin Kete, saying that like she wrote the same, like she's copying them, but not claiming or proving these claims in any way, just saying that she copies it, even if then she said, I have a lot of teams that are really female teams. How could I copy them? They don't have this kind of teams. So other topics that we found about the experiences of becoming a woman writer are connected with everyday life, with family obligations, with household chores, with lack of time because of work, because of other obligations. They were writing at night, or maybe in this short time that they found between other work. And they write about illness, depression, low motivation. They weren't encouraged by their family to write. So this is another really frequent topic that we find. And to end this this short presentation, you can find maybe a longer explanation of these processes, even about their representations of their sexuality and love, in my article, Becoming a Woman Writer. But to conclude, even the pay was different for women writers. Zofka Kreder, for example, was very angry when she found out this. She wrote to the editor Anton Ashkurts, the editor of Ljubljanski Zvon, when she realized that that the magazine's payment for her was not the same as for some male writers whom she called professors, because they had steady jobs, and she writes, they have jobs. I try to be a writer. I try to survive by that, and it's not fair that you are paying me less. So this was already there in this part. This is not the end of our research. This is, I think, just the beginning. And in the future, we want to expand the collection. We want to implement it into other kinds of research and even in the teaching of history, literary history.